don't get why anybody would be mad.
That's just wrong. Like, anyone should be able to marry anyone.
You should feel happy that they're getting married.
People that do not like gay, they're a group. Gay is bad for you.
So if someone was your friend and they turned out to be gay, would you still be their friend?
No.
It rules.
Oh.
Oh, that kid's awesome. Oh man, welcome back, everybody. Otto says my son. That kid rules, dude. Okay, so what do we let me see what we got. Okay, so first off, go to our shop. You guys know the drill. Go buy our merch. I'm not gonna pump it out too much. Rob will throw the link up. Go buy our merch. We got some good stuff in there. Also, while we're here, please hit like and subscribe. Bobby, you're gonna be spoken about in a second. His name's obviously Chad. All right, so we have not mentioned something that we are doing in February together
because we're terrible at stuff like this.
We're so bad at promotion.
I still need to buy the plane tickets.
You still haven't bought them?
No.
All right, I bought mine. So Rob and I are speaking at a conference February 8th. Okay, there's a men's conference. It's in North Carolina, February 8th. It's a pretty good lineup. We got Enoch is going to be there. He's speaking also. Rick Barrett will be speaking there. We have a bishop that'll be speaking there. John Frankman.
No, I don't know if he's speaking. He's
just celebrating mass. It's even better. Even better. Sometimes you don't want the prelates getting too involved in the talks, you know. So look, here's the thing. I don't know who John Edwards is. So I can't vouch for him, but I know Enoch's there, Rick Barrett's there, me and Rob are going to be there. So here's the thing. It's a one-day conference. It's only $40 to go. This is a very, very reasonably priced thing, but we want to pack this thing out and we want you guys to stay overnight. So like, even if you're in the area, I'm going to give you guys the hotel we're staying at because the thing is it's over. So it's Saturday day. That's it. And I'm pretty sure there's a vigil mass at the end of it. So nobody's going to have church the next day. I have like a 1 p.m. flight booked home on Sunday. So the conference is over at 6. And then we're going back to the hotel and we're going to be up to like 2, 3 in the morning hanging out. Like that is
what? We'll be up until like 11 p.m. guys.
Dude, you don't know me and Bobby. I'm just telling you, me and Bobby are going to be up late. So I'm going to tell you guys that if ladies, you can't come. I'm sorry. This is men only. But I want this thing packed with people who watch this show. If you're in driving distance, you have to come down. Kyle, you're coming. Kyle Whittington's coming. That is awesome.
Is he really?
Yeah.
No. Because you know what he's going to do?
He's going to bug us to come to the creator conference.
Yeah,
I want to go to the creator conference though.
I can't.
I know you can't get off.
I got
Kyle,
kid in August.
Yeah. It might. That's the thing, and I have to go to the baby's bath. So if anybody doesn't know, Rob asked me to be godfather to his son Sebastian that's coming, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be going to Minnesota when the baby's born. So Kyle, I'll figure it out, man. I'll figure it out. I'll get down there for a day.
I do not believe it is a Latin.
I don't know, but we're gonna find a Latin mass in the area. We're gonna figure something out. Either that, or maybe Bobby will take us to a schismatic Byzantine Catholic. Right. I mean, they're not really schismatic, but Bobby will teach us how to make the sign of the cross backwards. We'll try and fake it for a day. So all right, so it's February 8th. Rob and I are going in the 7th. I will be there.
Yeah, for all girls. 3 of you.
That would be cool. Maybe we could see if we could make something like that happen. My wife would never host something like that. That's what stinks. I got to get her more involved over here. So, all right. So Rob and I are flying in the 7th, Friday the 7th, and we're leaving on the 9th. I booked a late flight out on the 9th. I'm staying up late. So if you guys could come, the hotel we're staying at, if you guys don't write this down, just hit me up and I will give you the info. But wait, let me see.
Yeah, so the show I'm on, you tell them to hit you up. the show I'm not on, it's all, oh, email Rob with this.
Hang on, I actually sent the hotel info to Bobby. Let me see, Bobby.
Oh, Kyle says that he's picking up Enoch on his way down.
Oh, that's good. Okay, wait. Bobby, what's the damn hotel?
Pretty
Bobby,
sure it's in the
hotel.
email Jason sent us.
I'm sure it is. I just don't know.
I'm sure all of our viewers are going to absolutely love this first segment.
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to get to the main topic. All right, Bobby, text me the hotel so I can give it to everybody. So that's the deal. Friday, February 7th to the 9th, we are going to be in North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina. If you guys can make it, we really do. We're going to be pushing this a lot. Thursday, this coming Thursday, in 2 days, we have Kennedy Hall coming on. So it's the first time we've had a Kennedy on in a while. So
has he been on since the last fight we had?
No, that's why I was saying, like, he hasn't been on since co-sleeping.
Oh, so we got to come up with a supposed fight to have?
Yeah, we got to figure something out. Okay, so wait, Bobby just sent it to me. Let's see. Okay. Comfort Suites. Comfort Suites near the church at 7735 University City Boulevard, Charlotte, North Carolina, which is about 10 minutes from the church. You can check in after 3 p.m. on the day you arrive. So Comfort Suites near the church at University City Boulevard in Charlotte, North Carolina. If anybody needs more details than that, DM me on Twitter. If you guys watch the show and I don't follow you on Twitter, just make a show reference to me and I'll follow you back. Like, as long as I know you're actually somebody who watches the show.
And if you watch the show and don't follow us on Twitter, what the heck?
Yeah. Seriously.
Well, actually, I totally understand not following Anthony on Twitter.
Well, a lot of people don't have Twitter, but if you guys want to get me, if you don't have Twitter, email Rob. We'll get you the info. So.
No.
We are going to have a moralism fight right now. So, all right. So we're going to first do Charlie Kirk and Michael Knowles. Now, I'm going to say this. I kind of just wanted the thumbnail to say the papacy debate. Rob sent me like scaredy cat apologetics, and Rob wanted to like fire at Knowles a little bit. I'm going to be a little more compassionate to him, even though I think he failed.
I wanted to say scaredy cat Knowles, but that might have been a little much.
The thing is, I think he dropped the ball. I'm not gonna say he didn't. Like, he didn't. Like, he definitely did, but I understand why he did. Like, I don't know if people really understand what it's like being an Italian and you're in an uncomfortable situation. You just don't want it to be uncomfortable. So you just kind of like, all right. I just don't want it to be uncomfortable. So I don't know
what it's like to be Italian and not want that, but I understand what it's like to be Midwestern and not want to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, that's true too, though, right? Midwesterners don't really like, and you're a phlegmatic. Like, you're not crazy about like confrontation like that either. It's not easy to do, you know? So Knowles was way too cordial, trying to be witty and chummy with Kirk. Now, the thing is, that's fine if Charlie Kirk was responding in kind, but he wasn't. Charlie Kirk was being nasty, cutting Michael off, not giving Michael a chance to even get his point out. And then when Michael would make a point to Charlie,
being nasty and
yeah, no, it was typical obnoxious Protestant behavior. And Michael was just being like, all right, settle down. All right, just being like the cordial Italian. I didn't think Michael Knowles was Italian until I saw this video.
You thought it was all a lie?
I thought the whole thing was an act.
Like Kennedy Hall?
Yeah, Kennedy's not really Italian.
No, his last name's Hall.
His last name's Hall. This guy's last name is Knowles. But when I saw Michael Knowles acting the way he did, I'm like, all right, maybe this guy's Italian. It's a little something to this. So, all right, let's bring up the Charlie Kirk Michael Knowles video. We'll probably stop it intermittently to critique some things that we're seeing. I do think he brought a few good arguments in, but I think he just wasn't like forward enough about them. You know, the thing I hate about what Catholics do when they argue against Protestants is they're always on defense. We should not be on defense. Like, call them out on their nonsense. Ask them. You got to bring them back through history and just ask, like, call them out. Say, all right, so what is your position? Are you trying to say that the Catholic Church is a pagan cult? Like, what are you trying to say? And then once they say that, I say, okay, well, take me through that. When does it become that? And get to it.
The thing about debates like these is, like, when you're discussing the faith with a Protestant or like a friend, yeah, you don't want to beat them down. But when you're
Right.
doing something public like this,
And you got an
You're-
audience.
right, you need to defend the faith for everyone that's watching it. Yeah, that might mean that you absolutely lay a beat down on some
Yeah.
low information kindergarten level, Protestant, but who cares?
Especially a dispensationalist, low IQ. Like Charlie Kirk is not your high theology, high
No.
church Protestant who understands the arguments of the Reformation and can tell you about the Pope that said this and that. Like Charlie Kirk, as he's getting into the papacy, he's just like, well, Francis is a heretic. Without like I can argue Francis is a heretic better than Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
These debates are so tiresome at this point. Look, but
They
we have to make content. I don't have to tell you guys. We are going to do 2 clips from Wes Huff and Joe Rogan.
I don't even know who that
Because-
is.
I didn't either. So Wes Huff is apparently this, he's an evangelical of some kind. And he debated this guy. Let's just do Charlie Kirk first, because people are going to lose their minds if we bury the lead worse than we already have.
You know how I realized I don't like Jonathan Peugeot because I'd never heard his voice, and then I heard his voice? I've never heard Charlie Kirk's voice. This will be the first time.
Shut up.
I'm serious.
Shut up. Everybody says Charlie Kirk's voice.
No, I've never watched anything with him in it.
All right, let's see.
They're contradictory, but your goal should not be to bring people to a specific.
His voice doesn't sound as dumb as his face.
Okay, so-
looks. I'll give him
Okay,
that.
so wait, I got to give a preface. So a person stood up in the audience and asked Michael Knowles how he could better spread devotion to the Eucharist. And Michael Knowles is like, wow, this is the first time I've gotten a question that is something like that I actually want to answer. You're doing a good thing, blah, 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 blah. And then Charlie Kirk inserts himself and he goes, well, I would say that you shouldn't just try to convert somebody to Catholicism, but you should try to convert them to Jesus Christ. And that's where you got to pick up.
He starts off with something that
That generic,
unintelligent.
low IQ, ridiculous.
Ugh.
They're contradictory, but your goal should not be to bring people to a specific sect of Christianity. It is to bring people to the cross.
You're saying to bring people to the fullness of the truth and the universal
Yes,
faith.
but not the maxims of every Catholic dogma. No, I mean, for example, am I a Christian if I don't believe in Mariology?
No.
Well, we're talking about the fullness of the truth. We're talking
okay.
about,
All
but
right.
you still.
Am I a Christian if I don't believe in trans?
Like, there's an audience around. I know what Michael's doing. Look, Michael, he's not going to come right out and say, no, Charlie, you're not a Christian. But really, Michael should have just came back, which I get it. I totally get it, because that is a hard situation to be in. You're very friendly with this person. Like, you don't want to tell this person you're going to hell. Like, it doesn't go well. I'm telling you.
How friendly are you with that person if you don't want to tell them the truth?
It's not that you don't want to tell him the truth. You don't want to tell him you don't want to tell him he's going to hell in front of a bunch of people. Like, there are ways to do that where it's not, and it's not just that. Michael also has a very large Protestant audience, right? So
Well, that's his fault.
He's not just alienating Charlie, but he's very Catholic on his show. He doesn't water down the faith on his show. I'll give him that. Like, I've watched a few Michael Knowles segments, and he's teaching Catholicism on his show. But the situation he's in here, it's not like, oh, we're at a religious debate. They were at a political thing, and some kids stood up and asked him a question about Catholicism. So look, I'm not saying he handled it right. I get it. Like, I don't know if I could have handled it better than him in that situation. That is a hard spot to be in. And you, of all people, like, come on, you're a phlegmatic from the Midwest. Like,
Yeah, but you see what I can get like.
oh no, if you have a melancholic dump, there's going to be an issue. But he's not in that boat there, right? Like, he's not fed up. Like, he's just he's like, all right, Knowles is kind of like, all right, I know where this could go. I kind of don't want to do the theology thing, but like, I can't lie. So it's like, well, you don't have the fullness of the truth. It's like, and Charlie understood Michael means deep in his heart, like, no, you're not really a Christian. Like, he kind of implied it.
I'm not buying it.
All right, let's finish it. You are sick.
Substantiation.
you are a little confused if you don't.
Okay.
But you
confused.
can have sincere. But you can have sincere.
No,
faith.
it's fine. I think that bringing people to Catholicism is fine. Of course, great, terrific. But that is hopefully a means to the ultimate end. You exist to bring to people to
Yes.
Whoa,
No, of
Christ.
course,
Pause it
of
again.
course.
Pause it
And,
again.
and
Pause it again.
that-
That is the
Yeah,
ultimate
no.
end.
That is the ultimate end.
Come on.
That is the ultimate end. Like it's so freaking frustrating that people don't grasp what Catholicism is at all, man. They really do they just think it's a bunch of stuff we do to earn heaven, and it drives me freaking crazy, man.
Well, so you have two types of prots. You have the one that really does think like we're pagan, right? And then you have the prots that really do think all, types of Christianity are the same. They're the true nominalists. They don't think there is any sort of universal truth. They just they think everything is just a name for.
I'll bring this back up. I don't want to distract you while we're talking. I'll bring that back up, Tim.
So I mean, it would seem like Charlie is just one of those that really does think it doesn't matter what you are; it's all just different names for the same thing.
Oh man, I just.
So one thing I kind of agree with Greg here. I don't actually. So I'm kind of being hard on Knowles, but to me, it actually seems like he's just trying to make Charlie seem like a fool, and it to me, it actually is kind of seems like it's working.
Well, we all think Charlie's making a fool of himself. Like I think Charlie's making a complete fool of himself. He looks ridiculous, but I don't know if that's my bias because I just think all Protestants make fools of themselves and look ridiculous. Like that is a very, like, I think most Protestants that watched that thought Charlie owned Knowles.
Yeah.
I don't know. So wait, let's go back to Timothy's comment. This is 100% because Michael's friends with Kirk. Michael led me to the TLM, and I met him in person after the UMKC water gun incident. After he was heckled for 30 minutes straight, that's the thing. Look, I'll say this about like Frad too, man. Like I've seen Frad say some pretty uncomfortable stuff to people. Like
his interview with
Prager.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Like
that was a great interview.
He says some pretty uncomfortable stuff, and what was
without seeming to be nasty or combative.
Yeah, it was very
really
interesting to watch.
Made Prager paint himself in a bad light, and it kind of seems to be what's going on here.
Yeah, because so what I took from the Frad Prager thing was like, okay, Matt stood his ground on it. He didn't like bash Prager, but Prager dug himself a freaking hole and revealed something we're gonna get into with the Wes Huff clip, where what Protestants think Jesus is condemning in the Pharisees is religion. And that's not what Jesus is condemning in the Pharisees. Like, if you want to understand what Jesus is condemning in the Pharisees, just look at the modern Jews at how they skirt the rules of Sabbath, right? Yeah. So there's this thing they do in New York City where they hang a thin wire,
a little PVC pipe on the electrical poles. Yep,
on the electrical poles, and they hang this wire, and it goes around the entire freaking city. And the reason they do that is because now they can consider their house as the entire freaking city. Like they're inside of this area because the wire runs off of their building and it's connects to every single Jewish building.
They see it as a fence that denotes that whole neighborhood as theirs, and therefore none of the Sabbath laws apply within
that as if they were outside of their home, right? They have this Shabbat light, right? The Shabbat light where the light is always on, but they just flip a little plastic thing in front of the light and now the light goes out. But if they can't, because they're not the weirdest freaking rules for the Sabbath that the Jews have, man. Like they're not allowed to flip a light switch on because that's touching electricity and that's work.
That's servile work.
But you can flip a piece of plastic around because you didn't touch the electric thing itself, and that will cover the light. And now, so these are the things that Jesus is condemning, right? He's condemning the Pharisees for coming up with these legalistic ways to skirt around the actual law, which would be something like honor thy father and mother, Okay, so that means my parents in their old age, I have to care for them financially. But mom and dad, I donated my money to the temple. Now, I'm sorry. And now, meanwhile, their money's earning interest in the temple.
Yeah.
And they're still able to withdraw their money whenever they want. But mom and dad, I don't have the money to give you because it's in the temple. These are the things that Jesus is condemning. He's not condemning the ritual laws of the Mosaic covenant that God himself prescribes to them. And that's what modern Protestants don't seem to grasp. So, all right, let's go back to this clip. We'll get into that stuff after.
That is the goal. I'm just maybe being semantically,
But think about this question. If what happens when you want to bring people to our Lord? And what happens when there are disagreements over important things? I mean,
we schism and say you guys got it wrong.
Yeah.
Pause it.
Or we
He
do
thinks that's funny. He thinks that's funny. What happens when you have a disagreement, right? What happens when you have a disagreement and you have to figure out what's going on? Oh, we schism and we just go start our own church. That's not funny.
Well, especially because the Bible tells us you treat them like the publican.
It's not funny to do that. Like, it's not funny to rip the bride of Christ apart. And that's what these people do at every time. And they act like, well, the church is just a like-minded body of believers, but there's nothing like-minded about the beliefs of the Protestants. There's nothing like they agree on a few things, and those they call the essentials. But like, what makes?
But none of them agree on what the essentials are.
No, that's true too. That's true too. Like, it's really actually evil what he's laughing at right there. Seems so arrogant. He knows his audience is so low IQ, he can just say anything sounding confident, and they'll eat it up. Not only eat it up, laugh at it like it's humorous. Like, there's nothing funny about what he just said. Sorry, I'm stopping this thing every 3 seconds.
Good thing it's only 8.5 minutes long, guys.
All right, let's go. Let's play.
We're a minute 10 into it.
I'll give a good minute on this one.
Affirmation.
But so we're at Christmas right now. We're at Christmas time. We're talking about Saint Nicholas, Santa Claus.
I'm talking about Jesus.
And no, but I'm talking about Santa Claus. Before we talk about our Lord, but there's this story.
These characters, like Jesus. This focus on the main thing.
But there's this story about Saint Nicholas, who the legend. I don't think it's literally true, but the legend goes that Saint Nicholas, who Santa Claus is based on, shows up to the Council of Nicaea, and he smacks the heresiarch Arius, who denied the divinity of Christ.
Guarantee he had to define what heresiarch meant to Charlie after this.
Yeah, Charlie would not even understand what that is, right?
No.
That's first of
He's like, Council of Nicaea. When was that?
I tweeted, Michael should have just punched Charlie in the face as he was telling that story. As soon as Charlie said something heretical, Michael should have just punched him in the face. Or like smack them lightly just to
Santa
make a
Claus.
joke out of it.
Santa Claus.
Yeah, just roll your eyes at St. Nicholas, Charlie. Exactly, Margo. Listen, the thing is, I'm not knocking Knowles. Like, he's telling a good story here. Like, this whole thing is like, I feel for Michael, because you're in a room with a guy that you're friends with. You don't want it to become this tense theological discussion, because these things get heated, and especially the person who's wrong. The person who's wrong gets heated. Always. Yeah. That's why Rob got so mad about co-sleeping that night. Like, this is what happens. The people that are wrong get all mad and pissy, and they leave the show. It's just the way it goes, guys. Get back here. I'm so glad we laughed about that.
Oh, man. But so I think watching this now, because I didn't watch it beforehand, I think Knowles should have really played into it more, and like I said, he should have been like, "Oh, heresiarch, hold on, let me define that for you, Charlie." He should have played into it. Just made
I think he was man, because I saw Bug Hall tweeted out. He's like, "This is." I was actually going to ask Bug to come on tonight because I wanted the counter to my let's go easy on him. Like, I wanted somebody to push back on me a little, because I do, like, part of me was like, dude, just like lay down the faith, like say, no, yeah, dude, actually, no, if you don't believe Mary is the mother of God, like, you're denying a Marian dogma, and you're not going to be saved. Like, that's the truth.
You're denying a Christological dogma too.
Correct. That's really what it comes down to, right? So if you deny Mariology, that means your Christology is all out of whack. So
Oh, no, come on. Don't do this to me, Cicero.
I would.
Cicero wants to know if we would do Chosen season 4.
I would.
What? No, we said no. We weren't going to do it anymore.
No, I said I wanted to put a poll up, and if the audience wanted us to do it, I would do it. I actually did enjoy doing that series. We did season 3, and
I enjoyed ripping on it.
Well, that's the thing. It was good to have like the diversity of opinions. Like Jason loved it, you hated it, and I was kind of like in the middle, playing devil's advocate on both sides, and just like I found things annoying about it, and I found things that I liked about it. So, but
let me do a poll.
Paul says you guys hate watching. It's hilarious. No, the best part about that whole series was making Rob watch the episodes.
That's why I don't want to do it.
He doesn't watch TV. He doesn't do any of that. Like he wants nothing to. It's like homework for him. It's like no, you have to watch it. Oh, look who's here. I'm hanging with Joe Saturday. All right, let's get back to it.
Okay.
Smacks him in the face. And this has led to a meme that I really like at Christmas, which is an icon of St. Nicholas. And it says, I've come here to give presents to children and to punch heretics in the face. And I'm all out of presents. And so I don't think it really happened. And it would have been a corrective slap and all the rest. But the serious question is, what happens when someone has a question on something really important, like, is Christ God? The divinity of Christ.
Yes.
There has to be an interpretive hermeneutic to figure it out.
Of course, yeah. And look, to be very clear, like 9 out of 10 of Catholic dogmas evangelicals hold. 9 out of 10, right? Yeah. And that is why I believe Catholics are Christian, even though you don't give me that same sort of charity.
I would.
But,
I would.
No, I'm giving you a hard time. And I mean that again, if you are a Catholic who loves Jesus, therefore, and I know that, I believe that there are personally some fundamental issues with, like I say, Mariology, transubstantiation, which we're not going to get into. But the biggest one is the papacy. I can't get over the idea of this Marxist who calls himself the head of your church being a representative.
You got to pause there. So, all right, first off, bring that. So you're so right. Attack Protestant BS. No more defense. Hebrews 6:12 says confirmation, laying on of hands is basic. Prots don't even know the basics according to Scripture. They don't get to question us. The thing I hate the most about when Catholics and Protestants are in conversation is that we're always defending our dogmas. We're always and I have no problem if there's a Protestant with an open mind and he's like, all right, well, explain this to me. Like, why do you guys believe this? But if they're just throwing these accusations out about the things we believe, like, oh, well, I just can't get behind the papacy, and I just can't get behind this idea that this Marxist is the Pope, and it brings to light that Francis is one of the biggest impediments to evangelization nowadays.
Charlie would say that about any pope because he's a liberal. He can't wrap his mind around himself, the individual, not being the most important part of his universe, right?
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to. But I agree. Yes, Francis is a huge impediment to people coming to the faith.
The thing is, they have an argument with Francis, but there's also a way to handle that where it's like, okay, so you would leave the church because there's one bad leader, and you push back and you say, okay, well, what doctrine
Jesus from Judas?
Yeah, and what has Francis changed what doctrine has he changed about the Catholic faith? Like, the Catholic faith is still intact, even with a Marxist at the head of the church.
Death penalty.
Okay,
he's tried, tried,
and the thing is, even that though, this is. Like, I do think there might be a way for the church to have to correct things. It's fun that bring up the death penalty that are so adamant it's inadmissible. It's like, you're telling me the 2,000-year church teaching has been overturned, and it's been overturned for 5 years, and you don't think we could turn it back? Like, you don't think,
right?
Like, okay, so this 5-year-old teaching, you don't think we can flip it back the other way? Like, come on.
You're willing to say St. Paul in inerrant scripture was wrong, but I can't say Francis is wrong.
Yeah,
Bullshit.
and it's like there has to be a little bit of time for the church to make corrective error, like to correct the errors that do pop up, because errors do pop up throughout church history, and then we correct them. I mean, you go back and you see we've had heretical popes, and it's like, oh no, now we have a cadaver synod on this guy. You know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of what the church does. Like, things do get a little dicey for a little while. The Arianism heresy was pretty ruthless, and the whole freaking church fell apart, and then it gets corrected over time.
The biggest problem with Vatican II is that it didn't correct any error.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It should have corrected the error of hyperpapalism that arose after Vatican I.
It should have addressed the freaking sexual revolution. It should have addressed communism. It should, like, these are the things the council should have actually addressed, and instead it went in and did some pastoral nonsense, and it just made everything much worse. But I also think that if the church corrects those, I'm not even going to call them errors. If the church has to correct course a little bit, which I do think is going to happen, I don't think when you look at this 400 years from now, you're going to say the church fell into error and the church is like, okay, we have a Marxist at the head of the church. Even let's grant that, which, that's whatever. Like, he might have a Marxist bend. I don't think he's an actual Marxist. He's got some Marxist tendencies, though.
Being a Marxist would be too dogmatic for him. You know what I mean?
It's too rigid.
Yeah.
It's way too rigid. Like, I also don't think that the church falls apart even with a man like that at its helm, because the church has this stable foundation that it's working with, and it's a foundation that's 2000. Like, to me,
it's like what Belloc said. The greatest argument for the church is that it more or less that it didn't collapse in 2 weeks under its leaders.
Yeah, because it's run by imbecilic men.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I heard something yesterday. I might have been like a YouTube short where somebody that watched the Watergate scandal, and he goes, "The Watergate scandal proved Christianity to me." The guy goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, these 12 men witnessed the death and resurrection of Christ, and they went out and they stuck to their stories so much that they were all willing to be martyred and died over a 40-year period. During Watergate, I watched 12 guys over a 3-month period, and not one of them could stick to their story because it was like all of them were lying, like nobody goes out and dies for a lie." And it was something along those lines. It was told much better when I saw it. But yeah, there's something to me, like the fact that the church still stands 2,000 years later is the greatest proof of Christianity to me. The fact that it has, that this kingdom, that the kingdom of heaven comes to earth, and it's still standing 2,000 years later after the Enlightenment, after the sexual revolution, after all of it, we still have the church. Like, that
after moralism.
It's almost more provable today than it was in 80. Yeah, right. I will get to that, though, because I didn't know moralism was a philosophy. I thought he was actually talking about morality or something.
I don't know what he was. I didn't listen.
Yeah, you didn't hear that. Yeah,
he might not have meant the actual philosophy of moralism.
I'm not Tim Gordon, guys. Like, I didn't go to any college for philosophy. So
do you ever wonder if Gordon goes to dictionary.com and just pulls up a list of words and have them sort by length and then just reads those definitions?
He does say some pretty wild things on his streams. I'm like, Tim, you're the only friend I have that I need to keep a thesaurus around just to know what the hell you're saying.
Thesaurus? You mean dictionary? Oh my gosh.
No, a thesaurus, because he says words that mean other things, Rob. I know what a thesaurus is. Come on. All right, let's play the rest of the clip. Thesaurus is a funnier word than dictionary. I'm trying to be funny.
Of Christ our Lord. I mean that as someone who loves the Catholic impact on the world, that says it openly, and the fruit you will know it, and you have very Marxist fruit.
But what I guess my sort of last question on
is it your last
evangelization
question,
is
evangelism or evangelization?
But both.
Okay.
What happens when we get the next pope? Can we pull you over then? What if we get
who decided that?
Pope
well,
Leo
I will
the
say,
15th
John Paul II was amazing. I just think that there is a question to be asked of why is that specific process, that mechanism, given more merit than, let's just say, the local church and or the Word of God? And you'd say, okay,
because that mechanism delivers us you, Charlie Kirk, and that's why. Come on.
Interpretation,
the final resolution to
fine. No,
difficult questions.
that's fine. I asked the question, if you are all in on, the papacy and the Vatican, no practicing Catholic can look and say, this is the best that my religion has to offer.
No, Charlie, you're thinking too much about it. You got to have the Italian spirit.
First off, no one's ever told Charlie Kirk he was thinking too much.
No, but even like what he is thinking too much about, and I know Michael's going to go into some corny little thing, but he's thinking too much about it. It's like the Pope isn't always what the best of the religion has to offer. Like sometimes you get awful popes.
If we wanted the best Catholicism had to offer, we wouldn't have 80-year-olds vote for the guy.
Come on. It's just not what it is. It's the fact that you have a man like Francis and the church doesn't collapse under his leadership is proof of its divine institution. Yeah. It's not just Americanism, it's Zionism too. Like Charlie Kirk is he is a Zionist to the core, man. Like these guys, it's hard to even take anything. It's hard to even think of him as Christians to me. Like I want to become a Pope-splainer solely to spite Kirk's rabid support of capitalism.
I feel the same way, kind of, actually.
The thing is, I think there's a place for all of us to be Pope-splainers when you're arguing with a Protestant. I think it's okay for us as Catholics to have inside conversations. Like, oh my gosh, man, this guy's driving me nuts. There's a level of holy crap, I have such Francis fatigue. This guy is a total wreck. But when I'm dealing with a Protestant, it's like, shut your mouth. Don't talk about my father. I'm gonna defend this. I'll defend it. When we get to Charlie actually making the accusations of heresy and stuff, it's like, name the heresy. Tell me what heresy.
You can't even define heresy.
Yeah, who that's my favorite part. That when Protestants say that's heresy, who the hell defines heresy? What is it? The Bible. The Bible does not define heresy in any place, anywhere at all. Charlie Kirk makes you. I don't know about that. Now he does. Kirk might be that guy that united all the clans. All right, let's finish it out.
Now the Italians
finish it out. We're not even halfway through.
Oh, we don't have to.
It is. When someone asks, "Hey, in this newspaper, the Pope said something," where you say, well, maybe the Papa was misinterpreted. It's no big deal. Forget about it. You're too Anglo to understand that.
Too Anglo
attitude.
So I have to just hope. He doesn't mean that. Homosexuality is bad. Okay, we should.
No, he said God can't bless sin.
I know
sometimes.
Hold on,
he is right about
I'm not going to give you that.
Too Anglo, though, right? Especially Americans. Americans have that revolutionary spirit because our founding is on revolution. Our country is founded on civil war with the king. So anything that they don't like, it's like, well, just throw off the king. That is in the American myth. So it is inherent in the way they see everything, and that goes from church to state to everything. They don't grasp the concept of obedience in any way whatsoever, and they think they're being obedient to Christ, but they're not. They're actually the definition of they're the definition of disobedience, because they're saying, well, no, faith alone and my sins don't matter. It's like. You don't hold yourself to any standard of accountability. The only thing I'll say, Protestants get mad at, is if their pastor has an affair. That's sin, the pastor he fell, and then all of a sudden it's, well, he was never saved to begin with, which is a preposterous thing.
Right.
The guy goes to that. Nobody can ever be assured of.
What's an even bigger sin to the Protestants than the affair? If, God forbid, the pastor embezzles all the money they gave him.
They forgive that.
I don't know.
They're running around in Lear jets and stuff, but there's the only unpardonable sin for Protestants is homosexuality. It's
which is ironic for someone as gay as Charlie Kirk.
No, it's just they have certain things they'll say, no, God can't forgive that sin. It's funny the way they their sins are forgivable because they're not gay. It's but what do you mean if a person who is gay and they have faith alone, why would that sin be any different? Well, because it says so in the Bible. Yeah, but there's plenty of sins the Bible mentions. All right, let's try and get through this because people are going to lose it. And we're going to have to do the Wes Huff stuff on the other side.
Okay.
That one. He's been way more open on that topic, or the climate change thing, and
climate change
and all this sort of stuff. You just have to kind of hope that he's saying that we want him to
you
say.
just kind of, it's like my grandmother sometimes when she when one of her grandchildren says something that she doesn't like, she kind of turns down the hearing aid a little bit. And so sometimes, you know, if you turn down the hearing aid on certain issues,
it all, and I mean this like non-sarcastically, but like, why should I care at all what that guy from Argentina has to say?
well, because you care what your pastor has to say.
Yes, but if my pastor starts saying crazy things, I find a new pastor. So if your pope starts saying crazy things, maybe he's not the pope. And like, maybe that's a bad representation.
Because, well,
Charlie Kirk is seed, can confirm.
Yes.
well, I guess if your pastor says crazy things, you go to a new pastor, and then you have division in the church. It used to be, in the old days, it used to be, if the pastors disagreed, they'd go to an elder or a bishop or someone, right? You'd go to
unless the
someone higher
bishop
up,
is corrupted, and
then you
or,
take it up higher. Yeah.
and then maybe the pope is corrupted, and we write 95 points of complaints and hammer them to a door and get back to the word.
Well, the
back to the
issue
word.
is that one of the marks of the church
so
is unity.
crazy. I hate them.
So you can't have constant, schism. And so I'm not disagreeing about difficulties in the prelature at all. But there's a line from Hilaire Belloc, and he says he has to take it on faith that the Catholic Church is really what it says it is. But for those who don't believe that, one mark of its divine institution is that no other institution conducted with such knavish imbecility would have lasted a fortnight. And I think there's actually a lot of truth to that. That, when one points to the corruption of individuals or bad popes or whatever, there've been plenty of them, that actually that's kind of an evidence of because so many other ecclesial communities, they appear and then, you leave this pastor.
Yeah, I think that's fine, I guess. I mean, I think that if you have the Bible as any sort of semblance of a bedrock, you're gonna last.
But who canonizes the Bible?
Don't.
Well,
They
who canonized
don't.
it when
There's
we
not a
went,
single Protestant denomination that claims the Bible alone that lasted. They all fall apart. Everyone. There's not a single one that you could say from the Reformation. Like, you look at what is happening in Lutheranism, the PCA. You look at all of them. They're all delving into
how many Lutheran
way worse.
synods you have. The Methodist Church just split. Like,
not just split, Rob. They're accepting female pastors and bishops.
well, the half that accepts them is the other half that didn't want that split.
It's just the Bible does nothing. And the thing is,
guys, I didn't choose to watch this. This is his fault.
let me tell you something. 750 live viewers right now, 360 on YouTube. How many likes?
Raymond's got a great point here. If Charlie disagrees with his wife, or his wife starts saying crazy things, does he just go and find a new wife? Actually, he probably does, because he's a Protestant. It's what they do.
And they will get divorced. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's the thing. They even do that, right? Now, I mean, Catholics aren't much better these days with that, but
Protestantism is simply the sin of voluntarism. It's whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it.
I just know we have 366 people watching on YouTube. Do we have 366 likes is my question.
Let me check right now.
Guys, please like.
We have 80 likes.
Oh, come on,
losers.
guys. Just hit like. What does it take to hit like? I don't understand you guys. Let's try and get to the quick to the end of this.
Okay.
Leave us a Bible. He left us a church. And
well,
the church
that
codified the Bible.
Sort of true. I mean,
No,
I
not
think
sort of
our
true.
Well, that's
Lord
exactly
is part
true.
of Godship. God is the author of all 66 books,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
So,
And we had
73.
Wait, you slipped that in. Hey, come on. You can't do that to me all the time.
No, this is interesting though. Why is it that Catholics acknowledge divine books that Jews themselves don't think are divine?
oh, I love
Oh
this.
my gosh.
I
He
love
is-
this. I love
First off,
this.
first century Jews did think they were divine. It was just
But
the
besides
Pharisees
that,
that didn't.
Do you know when the Jews got rid of it? They called a council in the year 90 and they got rid of those books. And they got rid of those
It
books.
was later than that.
Even if it, but whatever, we'll say 90. We'll give them 90.
It was while they were in Babylon, after, like, not the Babylonian exile. I mean, after Rome destroyed the temple and razed Jerusalem to the
Bobby
ground.
texted me 2 minutes ago because I really want to get to the part about him saying the Jews define the canon. I see Bobby popping in here. Hang on. The Pharisees, Sadducees, and Essenes all had different canons in the time of Christ. Rabbinical Judaism is a response to the fall of the temple, which means Christianity is older. So look, when he says the Pharisees, Sadducees, and Essenes all had different manuscripts, all had different canons, he's not wrong. The Sadducees only had the 5 books of Moses, which is why when they go to Jesus and they say, and they don't believe in the resurrection because they don't have the prophets, they don't have anything like that. So Jesus brings to them and he says, what does it say? It says, God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I am the God of the living, not the dead, right? So he has to prove to them from the 5 books of Moses. That's what, like, there is no consensus amongst Jews on the biblical canon. So anything that happens after the destruction of the temple, first off, anything that happens after the crucifixion, once the temple veil is torn, is irrelevant what the Jews accept. Like, it's completely
the Jews themselves even say their little Yom Kippur thing stopped working in 33 AD.
33 AD.
They say that in their own Talmud.
So, and not just that, you have. Oh man, I had a point. I just lost it.
Bobby just paid us $50.
Oh, I love Bobby. He's the best. What do you say? The Amish are not capable of recognizing the word of God, even if it became incarnate and walked around performing miracles right in front of them. They certainly don't have the authority to define it once the Holy Spirit is already guiding the church. Right? It's so baffling to me that they don't grasp this. It's like, first of all, I think canon. Like, I really do. I think Enoch should be in the canon, but the church decided not. So I'll trust
you just like it because it's the Nephilim.
Yeah, well, no, I like the whole. First off, the phrase "Son of Man" comes directly from the book of Enoch. So, like, so many of the prophecies of the Son of Man is coming from the book of Enoch, which then gets referenced in Daniel, and then finally gets brought back in by Jesus. Like, Jesus is referencing Enoch. St. Paul is referencing Enoch when he talks about women veiling, and he says, as not to tempt the angels. That's a reference to the angels being tempted in the book of Enoch. Like, I do think Enoch is a pretty awesome book, and especially for our current times. Like, it kind of explains some of the weird stuff we see.
And just like some of the New Testament Apocrypha, like the Proto-Evangelium of James, like, there is worthwhile stuff in there. We get a lot of traditions from, like, some of the New Testament Apocrypha.
Most of our Christmas traditions are from that Proto-Evangelium. Like almost hardly any of it is in the New Testament.
Like what we know about Mary and Anne and Joachim, that's from the Proto-Evangelium of James. Yeah. The church decided that it wasn't inerrant. That's all.
Yeah.
Not that it was worthless.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not. It doesn't mean it's worthless.
Some of them are worthless, like the Gospel of Thomas, worthless. But
yeah, so the only reason they really got rid of it was because it affirmed Catholic doctrine. It wasn't because the Jews didn't accept it. Like, none of that is actually.
The New Testament quotes the Septuagint, which of course includes the Deuterocanon, 340 times. It only quotes the Pharisees' Masoretic text 30 times. Yet Protestants don't care.
They just don't know because they just trust. It's
true.
So funny.
That's
like,
true. They don't know.
They act like we're wrong for trusting the church fathers, where everyone has church fathers. Their church fathers just happen to be from the 16th century. Ours are from the first century.
Charlie's is Darby and Schofield from the 1800s.
Exactly, right? And so many, that's the other thing. Like, most modern Protestants, they're not even Reformation Protestants. Like, most of them are 20th century evangelicals with made up doctrines that never existed before. So when they say, if you can't find your theology in the Bible, your traditions are man-made. No, if your theology popped up in the 20th century, your theology is man-made. That's how it really works. It's very frustrating. So he winds up getting into a bunch of stuff about Francis at this point. I mean, let's just write it out, whatever.
Okay.
The keepers of the Torah don't even agree with your canon. It's
the wisdom
of Ben Sirah, 1st and 2nd Maccabees, according to rabbinical teaching, those are not divinely inspired.
What rabbinical
Actually-
teaching? There is
actually-
no consensus.
There is a part of the Talmud where because the Talmud is a collection of letters from rabbis back and forth where they're discussing the law and issues. And one of the rabbis in the Talmud considered the Wisdom of Ben Torah, which is the book of Sirach, to be canon. So they're
Not just that. Jesus celebrates Hanukkah, which is from the book of Maccabees, right?
Yeah.
Like modern Jews celebrate Hanukkah because of the book of Maccabees. I heard a rabbi one time thanking the Catholic Church for preserving these texts because they didn't preserve them themselves, because they were so anti-Catholic in the first 2 centuries. Like they were against.
So the canon that Charlie is talking about was actually developed in about the 700s. It was translated by by a group called the Masoretes, a Jewish group called the Masoretes, which is why it's called Masoretic. But like, yeah, this was the 700 years. The Jews decided to throw away Maccabees.
Yeah. It's just absurd. And oh man, we could get into the modern celebration of Hanukkah and how it's really just a way to subvert Christmas, but we'll let it go. All right,
And then we'll move on to Kwanzaa.
Books, yet Catholics say we like those. Why?
Yeah, well, so there are a few reasons. One, that the Douay Rheims, which is the Catholic Bible, is based on the Septuagint. The Masoretic texts, which come later, are the ones that the Protestant Bible and the more recent Catholic Bibles are based on. And there is some discrepancy, at least in numbering of certain things. But also, I mean, you say, well, if rabbinical Jews think one thing, why don't you think that? And I'd say, I don't know, because we're a different religion.
No,
I
but hold on a
guess,
second.
you know.
But we're the inheritors of the Torah as referenced by people that were schooled in that.
Yeah, yeah.
So
the
Tanakh. So the Protestantism has an identical mirrored image of the Torah and the Tanakh. And again, in traditional rabbinical teaching, they do not believe those books are divinely inspired. Anyway, I know the answer.
Anyway, let me not let Michael respond to this.
I was going to say,
anyway,
these are all things that take like 20 minutes to fully discuss.
This whole freaking thing. Like, that's why I said, like, I'm not going to be too hard on Michael, because I think he handled it the best he could. I know people are like, that's just so frustrating. He's being way too easy. Michael is very amicable. I am very amicable. So I am going to judge him. I'm going to judge with the measure that I want to be judged with, because I know people will lambaste me for doing similar things in similar situations. I remember when I had my cousin on. Remember how much I had to edit out of that thing with my cousin? Like, I had like an hour and a half conversation with my Protestant cousin. And I was trying to help her see like the Catholic position without offending her. And like when I went through, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. Like I had to. Thank God I pre-recorded that. You guys would have killed me. You guys would have literally chewed me up alive. And even with the stuff I put out, like there's still a couple of things. Like I was very early on too, though. Like I don't think I would. I think as we go through these experiences, you learn from them. I think Michael hopefully learned a little something from this.
Yeah, don't trust Protestants.
But also, like, I think anytime you get put, especially when you catch criticism from the outside, right? You're like, okay, all right, let me brush up on what I need to know here, you know. So it's just, I think he didn't say anything false. He did the best he could, and I think Charlie made a fool of himself. So I'm gonna give Michael a B-.
I don't know.
He didn't
do as bad as I thought he did.
Didn't fail. He just.
I think Charlie's just an ass that didn't like
let him.
Well,
talk.
number one, obviously ambushed him. Yeah. Number two, didn't actually let him talk, and just kept switching from subject to subject to subject.
You guys don't want me drinking on stream. Stop.
Yeah, we're done with that. It's fun once a year, guys.
Yeah. Next New Year's. We'll do it on New Year's. But if anybody does want to drink with me, we will be on February 8th. We'll be down in Charlotte, North Carolina. We want as many people to come to this as possible. It's $40 to go to the conference. Then you just got to get travel there and get the hotel room for the night. If you guys stay at the hotel room, I'm telling you, conference is over at 6. We're going back to the hotel. We are hanging out all night. I'll buy everybody food. I'll get everybody drinks. Come on. It's going to be a really fun time.
It'll be like 11 o'clock and he'll spend like $200 on Taco Bell.
Not even slightly kidding. Whatever they're giving me for the conference, I will spend on everybody's good time. Like, I don't care. I'm not going for the money. Like they throw me a few $100. I will spend it on drinks and food for everybody. Like we're hanging out. I want to meet our fans. I hate saying fans. I want to meet our viewers. It's a stupid thing to say.
Yeah, that sucks too. We want to make new friends.
We want to make new friends. So
yeah, how about that?
Anybody, it's in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's $40 to go to the conference.
And Anthony promises to drink only bourbon.
That's not happening. I'm gonna drink some sweet, like I'm gonna have like chocolate martinis or something.
It's North Carolina. I don't think they make those.
Yeah, you're probably right. We'll figure something out. I'll bring a bottle of just like election Anthony will pass out and Rob will be stuck paying for all the drinks.
100%.
Yeah, guys, come down, man. Come and meet up with us. It's gonna be a fun time. You guys will all enjoy yourselves. I'll tell you one thing. I'll get
you a nice glass of rosé, and
I don't even have a talk planned yet. I have like some notes jotted down. And for the people that come that watch this show, like I'm gonna tell a story or two you've heard on air. You're not coming for my talk. Like that's not what you're coming for. You guys are coming to hang out after, and we're hanging out all night after. So anybody that can, please meet us down there. Me and Rob are gonna go to the other side, and we're gonna talk.
Anthony's gonna go drink for drink with Rick Barrett.
You think I could? See a drinker?
I don't know. You're both short, so we'll see what happens.
I'm not that short. I just take pictures with tall people all the time. Like all the time. Every time somebody wants a picture, they're 6'5".
That one picture from Italy was amazing. It made you look like a midget.
Dude, I'm not kidding. He's 6'6". No joke. And then the kid Peter from Australia, the seminarian I met, 6'4". I'm like, dude, can you stand the step below me? Like, this isn't fair. Every picture I take, I look like I'm Jason's size. It's ridiculous.
Jason's only an inch shorter than you. How tall is Father Ripper?
I'm very much taller than Father Ripper, yes.
I suppose you've met. What about Kevin James? Are you taller than Kevin James?
I saw him at midnight. Well, I didn't go to St. Rocco's this week. This week I went to St. Matthew's. Oh, before we go.
Oh no.
Before we go. Priest on Sunday. I'm coming. Can we smoke cigars? Yes, we absolutely can. Okay, so Sunday, the priest before his homily, there's just a couple of announcements about communion. I don't really know where this tradition started, but I see some of you come up like this and you want the blessing, and this is a new practice that needs to stop. He literally said this. What is this? Hey Anthony, if you like the Nephilim Enoch, a good book is The Unseen Realm by Michael S. Heiser. Will warn you it is not Catholic, but I read it and it doesn't in my mind contradict Catholic beliefs. Much love. It is a really good book. Think you will like it. Maybe I'll read that and we'll do a show on like the Nephilim and the Book of Enoch. I will use Cicero. I will use that money to buy the book.
You know what we'll have to do? Give that book to Hitchborn and have Hitchborn on for the show. Too.
Right? Yeah, let him read it. Let him do the homework.
That is a Hitchborn show if I've ever heard.
Absolutely. So the priest tells everybody, first off, when you do this, like that is actually the practice in the East. So Bobby told me this when we were in California, in Italy, when he goes up to receive communion in California, he goes up like this when he receives. Like this is the posture you make when you receive. So when we were in Italy, one of the guys that we were with, one of the guys we were there with, Jason.
We do basically subcontract all the weird episodes out to Hitchborn.
He's the best. So the guy Jason we were with is not a confirmed Catholic. So the whole 2 weeks we were there, he would go up like this to receive communion and get a blessing. Now that was fine when we had the American priest there, but the Italian priest looked at him like he had 3 heads. He's like, and he went to give it to him on the tongue. And he's like, and he went like this, and the priest was so confused. Like, this is such an American thing.
Yeah, it is.
This is not practiced in any other country. But my priest was just like, look, I understand some people do it in the Novus Ordo, but this is a Latin mass, and if you're not receiving communion, there's nothing wrong with sitting in your pew. Just sit in your pew, and it's there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. There's many reasons why somebody would not receive. It could be they didn't fast before mass. It could be a number of reasons. It doesn't need to be something that anybody looks at or points out. Like people do have to be comfortable with when I go up to receive and I see somebody sitting in their pew, I'm like, good for you, man. Like that to me seems like somebody who actually
it's
takes
even
it seriously.
more commendable in a sense
Because they
at the
take it
Novus
seriously.
Ordo.
Yeah, for sure.
Because no one misses communion in the Novus Ordo.
Yeah, typically, for sure. So yeah, I don't know. If you guys do that at your parish, maybe you should knock it off. That's all I'm saying.
I think we need to get back to the old tradition of, forgetting the whole Anglo line,
just
queue
run up.
thing,
You
and
just run
people
up.
would just go up whenever they were ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because the whole idea of like the usher telling you your aisle is right, like that is such a Protestant thing.
Oh, I
It's
hate that.
ridiculous. One of our priests at the TLM did the same thing this past Sunday. He incorporated not liking the idea of coming up for blessings into a sermon. Good for you. Priests need to start speaking out on this stuff. Very good. We are very happy to hear that the priests are starting to say it in a way where the people understand it's not a knock to you. It doesn't sound like I'm saying it, where it's like, knock it off, you bums. You guys are just taking up time for the rest of us who just want to get the hell out of there after Mass. Kidding. I stay for an hour after Mass and I pray in quiet and solitude. I never leave it.
Yeah, you definitely don't stand at the back waiting to see if anyone recognized you this time and is going to come up and
It's
say
like
hi.
my thing. No, I actually dipped out this week. I had a cold. Man, I'm not sure.
Ooh,
You, man.
ooh, ouch. It's okay. I used to be a Eucharistic minister.
Most of the ushers are just Knights of Columbus for the most part, right? They're usually like the older guys. They're knights, and they help out at the parish. They help with the potlucks and things like that. So
They listen to Susan and do whatever she
We're going to go and
says.
discuss this Wes Huff thing. There's two things. So one is the clip that was going around YouTube, but there's another clip where Joe is talking about they were talking about the resurrection, and like Wes was doing a really good job with it until the end of this clip where Joe is like, he's like, but towards, how can we trust people who believed all sorts of wacky stuff at this time? And, they believed a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't true, but then how come we're supposed to believe that this was true? And I nearly lost my mind because of the way it was worded. So we're going to go over there and discuss that.
Half the country believed wearing masks was a good idea just 5 years ago. Like,
so, but it was Wes saying that, like, even the ancient Greek philosophers, like they were all like priests of Apollo and things like that. Like the ancients had no problem believing in supernatural events. Like to them, it was more absurd that we would worship a crucified man, like a crucifix. Like, why would you worship this on a cross? Like, it's just preposterous. But it wasn't the supernatural, it wasn't the miracles or the resurrection that was a hard thing for them. It was the crucified, like the cross is a stumbling block to the Greek, and no, it's folly to the Greek and a stumbling block to the Jew. So like they were getting into that, but like no, they weren't believing things that weren't true. These people, they were seeing supernatural things because the gods were real. Like that's what I was getting frustrated with. So we're gonna play a quick clip from that, and then the other thing where Rob and I argued on Twitter about moralism. So we're going over to Locals. If you guys are not Locals members, you guys should be Locals members. It is the easiest way to support us. It is less than the cost of a cup of coffee a month at this point, because coffee is $5 at this point. $5 a month. You like, we give the cheapest price possible, $5 a month. You guys pay $15 for Netflix, $15 for. We give you guys 4 hours.
Netflix is like $20 now.
Yeah. We give you guys 4 hours of material every week. We rarely miss an episode. Like, you go back and you look over the past 2.5, 3 years, we do.
Do you know how many live streams we have after this one?
How many?
Guess. Just guess.
Man, it's gotta be like 400 or something, right?
394.
That's crazy.
We will have over 400 live streams within a month.
That is, dude, think about that. That's twice a week for 3 years, pretty much.
Yep.
And sometimes 3. Like sometimes we would throw a Saturday and things like that. So, all right, we are going to go over there. If you guys like our show, please support us over there. We have more fun over there than we do over here. Me and Rob are going to have a brawl over there. So join us.
Okay, I'm switching us over now.